The summer of 2016, I'm training for the Spartan Run. And it's just another way, another distant goal that I have to keep me healthy and to keep me moving towards exercise and activity. As anyone that sees me knows, I always try to profess, please get out and do something activity-wise. Please also eat healthy. Please also practice or try to design your own meditative practice, relaxation practice. Those three, I think, are keys to get you to 90 years of age without any, or with little medicines and surgeries, and also to feel really cool. The reason I'm talking about adrenaline sports, whether it's a Spartan run or whether it's downhill skiing, high-intensity interval training, high-intensity strength training, CrossFit games, whatever you choose, I think I embrace doing an activity. The caveat is, as you hit 30, 40, and 50, if that's your activity of choice, I think there'll be a time when the risks outweigh the benefits. The benefits of activity and movement are well spoken in a book that I'm reading, Younger Next Year. I think Crowley does a great job at talking about how when you move, you break down tissue, there is a hormone that's secreted, C6 it's referred to, and then when you turn on that tissue or that hormone, C10 for building up tissue, whether it's muscle, bone, or tendon, that also is secreted in following. When you have a nice balance between the two, you're invincible. You continue to feel young, you continue to look young, you have muscle thickness, even into your 80s. The problem is, again, when you have the trigger of the activity and C6 is there, great, C10 will follow, but if you do adrenaline sports as your prime source, you might be walking into high risk. The problem with some adrenaline sports is that it does open you up to risk. As you get older, if you're bulletproof, if you have thick bone, you can probably take it. But imagine spraining an ankle, something as easy as that, when you're 60 versus spraining an ankle, even if you're an athlete at 60, versus spraining an ankle when you're 20. I think the recuperation time is a little bit longer, plus the duties of a 50 to 60-year-old at that decade, I think, are more encompassing than the duties of a 20 to 30-year-old. So we have to acknowledge that milestones usually occur every decade. Not only when you're growing up, there's milestones of growth when you're an infant, a toddler, a child, an adolescent, a teenager, young adult. There's also milestones every decade. The 20s are different than the 30s, 30s different from the 60s. So the consequences of having an injury later are much, they impact you more, they impact life more. So my suggestion is, try to, when you're trying to take an adrenaline sport and maybe mix it in or pepper it with a regular activity like hiking, walking, maybe running, anything like that, yoga, meditation, tai chi. And when you try to pepper it, try to remember that the idea with any kind of activity is that you want to secrete a hormone. The adrenaline sports, they secrete adrenaline immediately, but you also have that endorphin and enkephalin rush afterward. And it lasts for a couple hours, in my opinion. Your endurance sports will also secrete, they won't secrete adrenaline as much, but afterward you'll have a little bit more endorphin and enkephalin, and it might last a little longer. In my opinion, the relaxation practice, serotonin, oxytocin, when it's secreted, every cell in your body, again, it's also a hormone, just like the endorphin and enkephalin, but every cell in your hormone, every cell in your body, when they're bathed with the hormones serotonin and oxytocin, I think they work better. Those are the hormones that are released when you have a child, when you have a baby, when you're in love. And that is when reproduction, cellular fixing is at its best. So I think when you imbibe in serotonin, it'll last longer. When you imbibe in endorphin and enkephalin, it'll be just as enjoyable, but it'll last a little short. It'll be a little shorter. So the goal, the ultimate goal, not to get too confused, the ultimate goal is you want to take the feeling that you have whenever you either finish an adrenaline sport, try to get that feeling, bottle it up, and you want to reproduce that in the daytime as well as nighttime. If you can get that feeling, then you're golden. Then you make it to 90 years of age. That'll be the the message I want you to try to understand if you're an adrenaline junkie. You want to get that feeling you have. So next time you finish out your training, if you're doing, say, CrossFit, within half an hour of taking a shower, try to notice how you feel on the inside, how your muscles feel, how your heart feels, how happy you are, how your emotions are. And you have to try to get that feeling again and reproduce it some other time, say in the morning for 10 to 30 minutes, but without doing the sport. If you can learn to bring that out again, I think that's what your cells need. Not necessarily with doing an aggressive adrenaline sport, but maybe with experimenting with other sports, endurance, other forms of, say, Asian exercise. I'm talking about Tai Chi, martial arts, yoga, the things that you would normally, adrenaline junkies would normally say, that's too slow. It might be worth investigating, but the objective with diving into those activities has an accessory to what you're doing with the adrenaline stuff is you want to reproduce that little thing that you got in the bottle. The feeling you got in the bottle, if you can reproduce it with a different sport, you're golden. If you continue with that for at least 3 to 4 weeks, then I think that you'll be maximizing your chances for living younger no matter what age you are in. And if you have lived to 90 years of age with no disease, then it was worth it. If you do happen to have a disease, I think you'll be able to fight it a lot better than doing nothing at all.